Welcome to our virtual strawberry field day at the Musser Fruit Research Center. As a result of the support from South Carolina stakeholders, Dr. Melissa Muñoz and myself, Dr. Lindsey Thiessen, were able to establish a strawberry cultivar trial to understand the response of these varieties under our unique growing conditions. We planted 16 different cultivars on October 13th, 2025, and maintained them according to grower standard practices for the Southeast. In addition to basic characteristics like yield and quality, we evaluated the susceptibility of these cultivars to an emerging pathogen for the state called Neopistolochiopsis. Our study maintained healthy plants and an inoculated set of plants to compare the responses. We collected yield throughout the spring and concluded our yield collections at Memorial Day.
Let's take a look to the overall cultivars and then some of the highlights of the season. Keystone, Warrior, Chandler, Medallion, Albion, Brilliance, Galera, 025, Surfline, Monarch, Ruby June, Fronteras, Amber, Camarosa, GF Bell, Anchor. Warrior was one of our high yielders. It had moderate sweetness, moderate firmness, and low susceptibility to both neopest and powdery mildew. .08, also known as GF Bell, had moderate yield, high sweetness, soft fruit, high susceptibility to Neopistolochiopsis, and exposed fruit are sensitive to sun scald. Surflines here were another high yielder plot. They have the most firm fruit, low sweetness, they were less susceptible to neopest, and low susceptibility to powdery mildew. However, they have high rates of botrytis, which were likely linked to the fruit being shaded in the center of the rows, and they were also susceptible to sun scald. This next plot is Ruby June and was similar to Camarosa in terms of yield and sweetness. However, the fruit were softer and it had higher susceptibility to neopest and lower susceptibility to powdery mildew. Fronteras had high yield, moderate sweetness, moderate neopest susceptibility, and low susceptibility to powdery mildew. This plot here is Camarosa. Through this year of evaluation, we had moderate yield, it had high sweetness, the fruit were moderately firm, and has moderate susceptibility to Neopistolochiopsis and high susceptibility to powdery mildew. And the fruit were overall showing low sun scald symptoms. Albion was in the low yield side, had high sweetness on the fruit, but the fruit were also soft, and had high susceptibility to neopest and moderate susceptibility to powdery mildew. Chandler show high yields, moderate sweetness, the softest fruit, and high susceptibility to neopest. An important honorable mention is to Keystone, which had low disease susceptibility to Neopistolochiopsis, moderate yields, and moderate sweetness.
Unfortunately, due to extremely dry conditions, the disease pressure was very low. but we were able to look at several unusual diseases that are normally not common in South Carolina. One of note was fusarium wilt, which caused the decline of several plants in this plot with brilliance in it. You can see the vascular necrosis and the roots and crowns completely rotted. Fusarium typically causes a light brown discoloration of the roots and the inner portions of the crowns, which you can see in this plant right here. The secondary crown had necrosis and the roots completely decayed. As we look at these adjacent plants, we can see that these are also beginning to wilt, and the lower portions of the crown also have necrotic lesions on the base of the stems. Another interesting pathogen we found this year that doesn't normally occur in South Carolina was powdery mildew. We saw it very prevalently in Camarosa, which was the most susceptible variety, and least in varieties like Keystone. The lesions cause purple lightning strike patterns on the lower sides of leaves and purple leaf spots on the surface, and you can see white fluffy colonies where the spores are being produced in abundance, especially on the lower portions of the leaves. And in Camarosa, we see that it causes some leaf curling. We had limited disease pressure from Neopestalochiopsis due to low humidity and limited rains. In the lower canopy, we found some background phomopsis and botrytis leaf lesions, especially where there was higher humidity and dense canopies. As we worked our way up through the canopy, we found more Neopestalochiopsis lesions, particularly on the edges of leaves. As those lesions progress, you start to see fruiting bodies form in those necrotic areas, which will lead to new disease lesions. Interestingly, we found lesions on fruit before we found lesions on the leaves. Here we can see a fruit with a lesion from Neopestalochiopsis forming. The lesion appears to be a light brown to tan, and in the center it develops black specks, which are the fruiting bodies from the pathogen.
This is the first year of this study, and we anticipate continuing to evaluate relevant cultivars for the region over the next several years. Please take this data as preliminary, and we look forward to monitoring the response of these varieties in the coming years. We will be sharing a written summary of the first year of results to be viewed at your convenience. Thank you for joining us today. Please reach out if you have any questions regarding this work.